listener production.
Hi, Sacha, Barbour, Gatt with you. Happy Friday and welcome to The Briefing. Ever wondered what would happen to your attention span if you unplugged completely? I'm talking no phone, no noise, just sitting in pure silence for an hour.
The thing is, I'm not even trapped. I can end this whole experiment. Yet I'm feeling trapped by the rules because I want to do this properly. But I don't even think I've done it properly because I've been talking the whole time. Now my emotions are spiking.
That deep dive where Chris and I try rawdogging boredom and speak to an expert about whether the online trend can actually reset your focus is coming up in the second half of this episode. Now, first, we are getting into the headlines and I'm riding solo today. Chris was out partying at the Christmas party last night, so he's having a well-deserved sleep in. Let's get into headlines. It's Friday, the 28th of November. We start in Hong Kong, where the death toll from that horrific high-rise apartment complex fire has reached 83, with 250 more people still missing. 76 have been injured in the blaze, including 11 firefighters that ripped through 7 buildings, which were undergoing renovations at the time and covered with bamboo scaffolding. Fire crews have been going from apartment to apartment to try to find survivors, so far rescuing 55 people. And as the buildings continue to smoulder, anger is growing among the residents of the blocks, as well as their family and friends and locals, with claims there were no alarms that alerted people inside to the fire ripping through their apartments.
I watched it spread from block 6 to 5. It burned all the way. No one was putting it out.
Some of my friends live in this estate, so I just come and pray for them because I don't know how to help them.
I told her on the phone to get out, but the corridor and stairs were all filled with smoke and it was dark. So she had no choice but to go back to the flat.
Meantime, 3 men from the construction company carrying out the renovations have been arrested on suspicion of gross negligence, with unsafe materials being used in construction possibly responsible for the blaze. We know that could be the bamboo scaffolding used, but it's also been revealed styrofoam had been used to seal windows in the apartments. The Hong Kong government has now set up a fund as well, worth almost 60 million Australian dollars for residents affected by the fires. Now, just a little note of context on that bamboo scaffolding. The city's Development Bureau had actually discussed gradually replacing it across the Asian financial hub with metal scaffolding in a bid to improve safety. So this was something that was on their radar. Back home and to Canberra now, where after a mad dash, Labor has managed to pass its new environment laws. Ditching the coalition, the government has teamed up with the Greens to get the bill through Parliament, but with a raft of concessions. Now, this bill does promise to better protect nature through new environmental standards, while also speeding up project assessments. It'll also establish a new environmental protection agency, which is something Labor has been promising at the last 2 federal elections we've sat through. Now, also covered by the laws, they'll force the native forest logging industry to align to national environment standards in 18 months' time, so speeding up that deadline. And it'll also establish a $300 million fund for the industry to modernise. In the Greens deal, Labor has also agreed to prevent the fast-tracking of coal and gas projects. Now, this has been something that has been going on for years, as we heard. Labor's been promising it for the last 2 elections, but it is still being seen as a major win for Anthony Albanese on the final sitting day of 2025.
This is a landmark day for the environment in this country. It is also a good day for business in this country.
The bill passed the Senate last night and it'll be formally rubber-stamped in the lower house this morning. To the US now, where the FBI has launched a terror probe into the man who allegedly shot 2 National Guard troops in Washington, D.C.
There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like.
That was FBI Director Kash Patel speaking there. Now, the alleged gunman, a 29-year-old man from Afghanistan, arrived in the US in 2021 under a Biden administration program called Operation Allies Welcome. Now, this was a program that helped evacuate and resettle thousands of Afghani refugees after the US pulled out of the country following 2 decades of war. So prior to arriving in the States, we know this man had worked with the US government, including the CIA, and that's according to the agency's director, John Ratcliffe. Meantime, the 2 wounded troops have been identified as 20-year-old specialist Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe. They are currently in a critical condition in hospital, and a sad detail that's emerged as well about the pair, they were only sworn into the National Guard hours before the shooting. Now, speaking at a press conference, authorities say it is still too early to name a motive for the shooting. However, we did hear from Donald Trump in the hours after the shooting yesterday afternoon, our time, and he labelled it a terror attack himself. He's also halted all immigration applications from Afghanistan and says his administration will be re-examining all Afghanis who came to the US during Joe Biden's presidency. Now, you might remember from Donald Trump's first stint in the White House that he's all too happy to pull the trigger on, sweeping bans when it comes to immigration from Muslim countries. He did it in that first term that he was president. So, this doesn't really come as a surprise. It comes right from Donald Trump's playbook. Heading back to Canberra now, sorry for the whiplash, where politicians are reacting to this news.
So after 30 years with the National Party, I'm resigning from the party.
Yes, in a surprise to exactly no one, Barnaby Joyce yesterday confirmed he's resigning from the National Party. But where he will sit next is still not clear. Now, it was believed he'd be defecting to One Nation, and Pauline Hanson has certainly been courting him, cooking him a Wagyu steak in her parliamentary office this week on a sandwich press, no less.
I made him a damn good dinner.
But the former Deputy PM just hasn't revealed if he'll be joining another party or sitting as an independent. Now, his Nationals colleagues have reacted pretty strongly to his resignation.
We're deeply disappointed Barnaby Joyce has made this decision.
Gutted, shattered, disappointed, all of those words.
If he goes to One Nation, he will be absolutely trashing his legacy.
He shut the door today in the face of the National Party and walked away.
While it caused quite a stir during question time among Labor MPs yesterday, Arvo.
All right. The Deputy Leader of the Opposition and the Treasurer are welcome to take their conversation outside.
Now, if you missed that under all the shouting, that was Treasurer Jim Chalmers there, basically saying there'll be no one left in the coalition by the end of the day, which is a reference to Labor's thumping election win to leave the party with just 42, now 41 seats in the lower house. And another reason that AI art shouldn't replace the real thing. A Sydney train station has been forced to remove a Christmas banner it had put up to celebrate the festive season over some truly awful mistakes in the picture. So this is at Redfern Station in Sydney's inner city, and I'll describe this banner for you. It's got a cartoon Santa reclining in a deck chair on a beach surrounded by cute Aussie animals, really standard stuff, really sweet. But on a closer inspection, and you know what? You don't even have to look that closely. You can see it pretty clearly. There's quite a few problems. It includes a kangaroo in a bikini, which, I guess that's fine, but I don't know. It's still weird in the context. There's another roo with a koala's head and a weird half chihuahua, half marsupial thing with bulging eyes and missing limbs. It really is awful. I highly encourage you to Google this one and go have a look. It's quite funny. But after a bunch of complaints and a viral Reddit thread, Transport for New South Wales has confirmed it's decided to remove the banner from the station's Christmas display. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And yeah, let's pay artists going forward, I reckon. Let's ditch AI when it comes to art. I think we can still do it better. On that note, that is the end of Headlines today and for the week. Thank you so much for joining us. Next up, Chris and I did a little experiment yesterday. We raw-dogged boredom. Have a listen to that up next.
Alrighty, picture this. You've managed to nab an hour to yourself, you've gone to your room, shut the door, sat on your bed and did absolutely nothing. No telly, no phone, no book, not even a stupid little fidget spinner to keep you distracted. Nothing. Well, that's the crux of a trend the youth of the internet are hopping on, where they film themselves and, I quote, raw-dogging boredom. Now, if we set aside the Urban Dictionary's definition, rawdogging can be defined as the act of doing an activity without any external aids to help you pass the time. Some examples that have popped off on TikTok over the last 18 months include rawdogging your hot girl walks, so going for a walk without headphones, rawdogging your mornings, so starting your day off with no coffee, and my personal favourite, rawdogging a flight, so being on a long-haul flight, just watching the flight map and not a single movie. Now, before we get into the neuroscience of it all with an actual expert, which we will in a moment, we wanted to try rawdogging boredom for ourselves. Sacha and I locked ourselves in separate studios for half an hour, no phone, no laptop, no Apple Watch, no lanyard to play with. And before we did, we actually recorded quick voice notes of what we thought we would get out of the whole experience. So, hello, Sash.
Hello. I just want to make the point as well, we've come straight from the experiment. So
Yes.
we haven't spoken about how we feel about this yet.
No, we've been sitting, we've been sitting in full silence at the moment. Okay. This is my reflection. This is what I thought would happen. Okay. Pre-rawdogging reflection. Okay, it's time. I'm nervous. I do think this will be good because I'm really fidgety and I'm really bad at, standing still, sitting still. But I also think, and I haven't told you this, Sash, I think I might cry. Yes.
Okay, I want to hear about, let's break down yours first. Did you cry?
No.
Oh.
Because I was overstimulated. And
Were you?
Yeah, because we had that big rush to get in on time at 8 o'clock. So we ran into the studio. So I was a bit like, do. Oh, I've got to leave my phone out here. Yeah. Oh, take the watch off. Damn it. My lanyard. Your lanyard. AirPods. No AirPods. Can't play with them. Okay. Bah. Then I couldn't gather my thoughts, so I started talking, and then I was like, wait, you can't do this by talking. You have to quiet the brain.
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes. A little bit out of breath. I can hear the fan in the light going, and it is actually annoying me. Or maybe that's the aircon. Shut up, Chris. Shut up. I think I'm not following the rules. Shut up, Chris. Didn't cry, thought I would because I've been hanging out with my grandparents a lot and old people just make me, they just make me a bit sad and reflective.
Yeah.
Didn't happen, but what I did find, I used all the little tips and tricks that I've gathered over the years to just woosa.
Okay,
So I went to the ocean.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, did you close your eyes and meditate?
Well, at one point I did feel myself falling asleep and I kind of was like, oh no, don't do that. Because although I was still enough and it was quiet enough for me to fall asleep, I was like, nah, don't do it. You got to stick this out.
Yeah. So how did your perception of time go?
Is this the 15-minute mark? I'm so fucking bored. I'm actually so fucking bored. Raw dog boredom.
Okay, so you felt like it dragged.
I fully lost track of time though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What would you rate it? As in sum up the experience for you. Was it better or worse than you thought? Would you raw dog again?
No. Oh, no, look, I would, but I wouldn't do it during work hours because I actually found my mind was ticking and I was thinking about work and I was thinking about, okay, well, how do we turn this now into an episode? What am I going to ask Alexis? Because I started changing my questions in my brain because I was like, oh, I want to know about this particular thing. Would I do it at home? Oh, I think it's stupid. Okay, just focus. Forced meditation, gamified meditation. It's about being okay to sit in silence. You don't have to be stimulated. You don't have to be talking. Triggered.
All right, well, let's listen to what I thought before we went in.
Yeah. How'd you go?
I'm not really sure what to expect from this. I can't think of a time where I've sat for half an hour with nothing to do or look at or someone to speak to or, a goal. No goals, no nothing, just sitting in a room. I'm a bit nervous. I might lose my mind. So that was my biggest thing I found. So what I did when I first went in and sat down, the very first instinct I had after putting my bum on the seat was I literally lifted my arm to look at the time. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, my God. I just went to look at my watch. The first thing I did was I sat down in this room and I went, what's my next thing? Took my watch off because I didn't want to have a sense of the time. And because I think I live, and we all do, we live our lives by deadlines. Even if it's not a hard deadline, it's it's roughly this time. I know that in 5 minutes I need to do this, or in an hour it's going to be lunchtime. We're constantly looking at time as a marker for, achieving things throughout the day. So Initially, I felt really directionless and I found myself talking to myself a lot more initially. And I think that was because I was looking for a way to scratch the itch of having something to do. I feel like I should have told people what I was doing, aside from my colleagues. I should have told my husband. Only because, I have a baby, so what if something happened and he's with the baby? And then I reckon about 10 minutes in, I just sat in it and I just stopped.
Leaned into it.
Yeah, I leaned in.
And what was it that made you just calm yourself?
I don't know. I think it was sitting in a room with nothing else to do.
Yeah, right.
That I just went, okay, I'm here. And again, I think it's funny. So I've quit. I was addicted to nicotine and I quit it not so long ago. And I know that when I was quitting that addiction, it was breaking the habit. So just like with your phone, you think, oh, I can't possibly be bored. Oh my God, I have to pick up my phone. I have to look at the time. I have to do something. As soon as I didn't have access to that, once the initial dopamine hit, seeking that dopamine hit wore off, I was okay.
Yeah.
I did find though, I reckon maybe halfway through, I suddenly got a pang of anxiousness. Oh. And I think it was because I couldn't check the time to know how much longer I had.
Yeah.
And it made me feel out of control.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got a really weird anxious feeling. Maybe that's my screen addiction kicking in. I think it was the feeling of not knowing when I was going to be able to leave this room and this situation, which is ridiculous because it's not going to be that long. But I don't know how long, and it made me feel out of control and powerless.
Well, I mean, I counted every single ceiling tile. There's 30 in this studio.
See, I didn't do anything like that.
I caught my reflection and then I was like, wait, no, don't look at yourself. Although I was I was staring at myself for a solid minute and I was like, wait, stop doing that. At one point I was reciting lyrics in my head just to pass the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that cheating?
No, I think that's the point, is that our brains aren't supposed to be constantly occupied. It doesn't mean our brains are silent and we're not thinking about anything, but it just means that we don't have the hardcore stimulation of phones or laptops or screens or anything like that. I found it quite beneficial actually.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it again, like I said, during work hours. But now that we've done it, we've got some good questions to put to Alexis Fernandez-Preiksa, who's an author, neuroscience expert, and host of hit podcast Do You Fucking Mind? And she joins me now. Alexis, welcome back to the briefing. What are your thoughts on raw dogging boredom?
Okay, so overall, it's really good for you. It is. There's very little that's bad for you. The only time that I would say it's not great is when people are doing, the trend of raw dogging a flight and they're doing 7 hours and they're adding on other things like no water, no bathroom, no getting up. So that's not ideal because it's borderline torture, and it's also you're doing it for such a long time where most people are not used to being bored for even half an hour or even 20 minutes because we've got so much at our fingertips. So that's an extreme which I wouldn't recommend. However, overall, raw dogging boredom is actually one of the best things you can do to lower anxiety, to increase your creativity, to improve your focus. There's just so many benefits.
Yeah, so I mean, online, the way that it's kind of sold to us is that this is the best way to fix your attention span. This is the best way because we're so addicted to our phones. This is how you can rewire the brain and get that going. From a neuroscientific perspective, is that accurate and true?
Yes. So it is for different reasons. It is on like a chemical basis because we've got our dopamine, our serotonin, these, kind of reward chemicals within the brain. And when you allow yourself to just be, when you're not constantly being stimulated, it kind of allows those levels to even out a little bit. And it's not to say you shouldn't have dopamine but it's about how we treat those spikes of dopamine where it's not constant. And then when we're constantly seeking that fix, it's more just you're evening it out. And then also you're looking at how you're dealing with, your default mode network, which is kind of your processing system that runs in the background when you're not focused on a task. So some people, their default mode network is quite anxious. It's quite negative. The thoughts that run, they don't like it. So they have to be distracted all the time. Or it could be someone who's just got a really busy default mode network, which is you, where it's just it's like a racing stream that they just can't stop. So they think, okay, I'm always doing something or distracted because it's just, I don't feel calm when I'm bored. And then there's other people that have a really relaxed default mode network. And so the people that where it's like a stream of consciousness or where it's anxious, they're going to avoid it a lot. But the more you sit just in silence with your mind, you begin to train your mind to have a calmer kind of background operating system where you can process your thoughts, where you're not so heightened and emotional, where you're not so reactive, you become a lot more proactive with your thoughts. And that happens when you just allow your mind to be and when you sit with your thoughts.
I am curious to know though, do we have to be bored? Is it okay to not like being bored?
I think overall we should aim to be bored every so often. And the reason for that is we feel that we're not okay being bored because we're really not used to being bored. But if you want to tap into all the resources that your brain has at your disposal, it's a shame not to allow yourself to be bored. That's why so many great business ideas happen when you're in the shower or when you're driving. A lot of great ideas happen when you're doing a really mundane, monotonous task and your attention isn't taken somewhere else. So there's less and less of that happening. So if you allow yourself to go out for a walk where there's just low-level stimulation, just the things that you're seeing on your walk, but you're not listening to music or a podcast or anything like that, even just for the first 20 minutes if you walk, then you can put something on, you'll start to realize how many great ideas you can come up with. If you're an anxious person, that's not going to happen immediately. You're going to have to go for a few of these to kind of slowly sift through all these thoughts, and then eventually you will settle into less anxious thoughts, more creativity. So it happens for everyone, but some people can tap into that a lot sooner than other people. So I think really, yes, I think we should be getting bored. I think it's just such an untapped resource that our brain has. We are so much more creative than we give ourselves credit for. We just never allow the time.
Speaking of time, an hour sitting in silence is a long time. Half an hour that was hard for me. I'm not going to lie, that was really hard for me. See the benefits and I hear what you're saying, but what are some other ways that we can achieve all the positive, feel-good things that you're talking about without sitting down in silence doing nothing for an hour?
Think of any task where it doesn't require something you could do subconsciously, something that you could do on autopilot. So maybe next time you drive somewhere, no radio, no music. You're still doing something, you're still seeing things, there's new things coming into your awareness, but nothing, just for if it's a 20-minute drive or the first half an hour if you drive. Walking, like I said before, is another one. Cleaning the kitchen, like just randomly tidying up the house with no other stimulation other than the task that you're doing. That's a really good one. Mind you, like I don't do this all the time, but sometimes I'll set a 1 hour timer, how much cleaning can I get done in that 1 hour? Maybe the first half hour, nothing. And you'll be amazed at how many topic ideas I come up with for my podcast in that time, because my mind's like, and this and this and this. And then, okay, great, I've done the half an hour. Now I'll go listen to some music or my favorite podcast or whatever. Another thing I would recommend is start small. Start small because, if you set yourself an hour, it's going to be horrible for a lot of people because you're not used to it, and that's where your anxious thoughts will be going crazy. But if you start with 10 minutes, then 30 minutes, then it's actually going to be quite enjoyable, and I can guarantee you your brain is going to look forward to that peaceful, quiet time, and you're going to start to come up with some really, really cool ideas, like creative ideas, business ideas for, it could be anything. You'll be amazed. So start small and slowly, but no more than an hour. I don't think you need that. So don't go raw dog a flight if it's going to mean torture.
No, and then looking at the flight map for 14 hours, that is insane. Anyway, Alexis.
No,
Thank you so much for joining us once again on The Briefing.
You're welcome.
That was Alexis Fernandez-Preiksa, author, neuroscience expert, and host of hit podcast Do You Fucking Mind? And that is it for this episode of The Briefing. If you enjoyed this chat or you got something new out of it or you actually want to try it yourselves, let us know. Get in touch with us on our socials at The Briefing Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. That is it. I'm Spyrou. I'll catch you next time.